In this class, we will start our discussion with the third chapter. So, the name of the third chapter is magnetostatics, and it is given as magnetostatics 1 in your syllabus book. So, what is meant by this magnetostatics? First of all, we need to understand the definition of magnetostatics. If you see your syllabus book, it is mentioned that the first two chapters as electrostatics 1 and electrostatics 2. So electrostatics is basically the study of static electric fields or the electric fields which are produced due to static charges, which are immovable charges. Whereas when you come to magnetostatics, magnetostatics is simply here statics indicates it is the study of, let me write the definition, it is the branch of physics, it is the branch of physics which deals with static magnetic fields. Okay, so other name for magnetostatics is static magnetic fields, okay, which deals with static magnetic fields. Okay, these static magnetic fields are nothing but the magnetic fields produced due to basically DC currents. Okay, what is meant by a static magnetic field? A static magnetic field is one which is produced due to steady currents or DC currents. Okay, so let me write here static magnetic field is a field which is produced due to steady currents, steady currents, or these steady currents are also called as DC currents. I hope you have studied about the difference between DC currents and AC currents in the previous in the circuit analysis. An AC current is an alternating current. A DC current is a constant current, means its magnitude is constant with respect to time. If the current magnitude, whatever may be the quantity, if the magnitude of that particular quantity do not change with respect to time, then we can call such a particular quantity as a DC quantity. So basically, what we will learn here in magnetostatics is we'll learn or we will deal with the magnetic fields which are produced due to steady currents or DC currents. Okay, this is called as magnetostatics. That is why it is called as magnetostatics. Magneto means we are dealing with magnetic fields. Statics means it is produced due to static currents. We know that there are basically two ways by which we can observe the magnetic field. One way is due to a bar magnet or a permanent magnet, which we will see regularly in our lifetime. Okay, usually we will observe this bar magnets in several electronic appliances like radios or tape recorders or TVs, television sets. In all these appliances, we can see bar magnets. Okay, which is here we can consider this as a permanent magnet. Okay, this is one way of producing the magnetic field. One way of inducing the magnetic field is using bar magnet, and the second way is using an electromagnet. An electromagnet, in the sense, a current carrying conductor basically acts as an electromagnet. We studied in our basic physics in our intermediate or in 10th class. We know that we studied that a current carrying conductor produces a magnetic field, or we can observe the magnetic field lines around the current carrying conductor, right? We can call such a current carrying conductor as an electromagnet, whereas bar magnet is a permanent magnet. These are the two ways of producing the magnetic field. Here, when we are dealing with the magnetic fields produced due to steady currents or DC currents, we can call such a study as magnetostatics. Okay, so this is about the basic definition of magnetostatics and why we are calling it as a magnetostatics. So in this third chapter and fourth chapter, we will see the relation between the current and the magnetic field, how a magnetic field produced due to a current, and how the magnetic field produced by one current carrying conductor affects another current carrying conductor, means the force between two current carrying conductors, like that. Okay, now let us see the first basic law related to magnetostatics, which is Biot-Savart's law. As I repeated while we discussing electrostatics, that Coulomb's law is the basic law in electrostatics, which gives us basically the force between any two point charges. Here in magnetostatics, the important law which we need to understand and which we need to apply in order to find the magnetic field of various current distributions is Biot-Savart's law. Okay, let us understand Biot-Savart's law first. This is a very important as well as a basic law related to magnetostatics. As we started electrostatics with Coulomb's law, we are starting magnetostatics with Biot-Savart's law. So what this Biot-Savart's law states, let us see the statement of Biot-Savart's law. So the Biot-Savart's law states that the differential magnetic field intensity, differential always, here if we are calling differential, you need to understand it as a small amount of magnetic field, okay, or it is the magnetic field due to a small current carrying element, a small current element. Okay, so the differential magnetic field intensity, the differential magnetic field intensity due to a small current element, due to a small current element is always proportional to, is proportional to the current element, is proportional to three things. One is the current element, differential current element. I indicates the current, dl indicates the length of that small differential element. Okay, so it is proportional to the current element. Second one is sine of, sine means sine, cosine, so it is a trigonometric function, sine of the angle made by current element, sine of the angle made by the current element, and the line joining the current element and point of interest, line joining the current element and point of interest. Third one, inversely proportional to inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Okay, between them means between the current element and point of interest. If you want clear explanation, I can write current element and point of interest. So before this, I just want to give a picture of various aspects, then we can understand the statement easily. So I am considering a small element out of the entire current carrying conductor. So this is a current carrying conductor which is carrying a current I. In this current carrying conductor, I am considering a small element like this, right? From this small element to a point P where I want to find the magnetic field. Okay, so we know what is the meaning of point of interest. In our starting class, I told that point of interest is one where we want to find the field, where we are interested to find the field. So here P is nothing but the point of interest, and this is a small wire carrying a current I. In this small wire, I am considering a small differential element whose length is a dl bar. Okay, whose length is a dl bar, and the distance between this differential element and the point of interest, let us assume this as small r. Okay, so r is the distance from this small element of this entire wire to the point of interest P. Okay, please note it down everything. And I is the current flowing through this small element, right? Let us assume this element is making an angle of theta. This small element is making an angle theta with respect to line joining. This is the line joining the element and point of interest. If this is the situation, according to Biot-Savart's law, the differential magnetic field intensity. So what is the letter used to represent magnetic field intensity is H. H is the letter or a symbol which is used to represent magnetic field intensity. Differential magnetic field intensity means DH. Okay, so the differential why it is called as a differential magnetic field intensity? It is the magnetic field intensity due to a small element. If it is the magnetic field intensity due to entire current carrying wire, we cannot call it as a differential magnetic field intensity. Whereas as it is due to small element, I am considering this as differential magnetic field intensity. Okay, it is proportional to, according to the statement, it is proportional to current element. Current element means I multiplied with this small length dl. So I can write according to statement dh is proportional to idl as well as sine of the angle made by the current element and line joining the current element and point of interest. What is the line joining the current element and the point of interest? This is the line joining the current element and point of interest. And theta is the angle made by the line with this line, the differential element with this line. Sine of this angle means sine theta. So I can consider sine theta. These two are directly proportional to, and it is inversely proportional to, okay, uh, inversely proportional to square of the distance between current element and point of interest. This is the current element and this is the point of interest. The distance between these two is r, so it is inversely proportional. Hence I can write this as denominator square. Okay. Now how can I write the complete statement? Mathematically, this is theoretically the statement of Biot-Savart's law. Mathematically, dH is proportional to IDL, which is the current element, sine of the angle between the current element and line joining the current element and point of interest, inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Right? In order to remove the proportionality, I need to introduce a proportional constant. Let us assume, let us consider that proportional constant according to experimental results is dH is equal to 1 by 4 pi. It is I dl sine theta by r square. H is the magnetic field intensity. Hence I am considering the unit as ampere per meter. Ampere per meter. This is only the magnetic field intensity at point P due to the small current element IDL. If you want to find the total magnetic field intensity due to the entire conductor, you can take integration on both sides. You can obtain the field intensity easily. And I just want to modify this relation further. If you observe here, this is one vector dl bar. Is it right or not? And you have one more vector which is r bar here, which joins the differential element and the point of interest, so that I can change ideal sine theta as, I am considering ideal sine theta as ideal bar cross. See, you have sine theta, right? When you have sine theta, you can replace it with a cross product. When you have cos theta, then you can replace it with the dot product. As you have sine theta, you can replace with cross product. So I can write this as ideal bar cross AR bar. Okay. What is meant by AR bar? It is the unit vector in the direction of the vector R bar. Okay. What is this value actually? See, from the statement of Biot-Savart's law, we can get what is the magnitude of field intensity due to this small current element. In order to get the direction of the field intensity, I need to consider the cross product here. So if I consider the direction, if you observe here, what is this value? A cross B, we know the formula for A cross B. What is A cross B? It is magnitude of A multiplied with magnitude of B sin theta into A n cap. Is it right or not? Because the cross product is a vector field. Dot product is a scalar field. Cross product is a vector field. Vector has magnitude as well as direction. This is the magnitude of the vector and this is the direction of the vector. Is it right or not? Now what is the direction of this? This is a unit normal vector. When you have two vectors A bar and B bar, What is the direction of A bar cross B bar? The direction of A bar cross B bar is always perpendicular to the plane containing A bar and B bar, and it is always in the direction of the thumb when you curl your fingers from A bar to B bar. Okay, when you curl your fingers of your right hand from A bar to B bar, your thumb shows the direction of A bar cross B bar. Similarly, here also, what is ideal bar cross B bar? I is magnitude, right, as it is. DL bar magnitude is a DL. What is the magnitude of AR bar? It is a unit vector. So the magnitude of AR bar is 1, and sine of the angle between these two. Sine of the angle between these two is ideal sine theta. What is the direction? See, you can find this magnitude of ideal bar cross AR bar as ideal sine theta. Now, in place of ideal sine theta, what I can write? Ideal bar cross AR bar. If you want direction, you can obtain the direction. Sine theta. Now, in place of ideal sine theta, what I can write? Ideal magnitude of ideal bar cross AR bar. If you want to write the vector notation of this, I can write dh bar as ideal bar cross AR bar divided by 4 pi r square. The unit of magnetic field intensity is ampere per meter. We know this already from our basic physics. The unit of magnetic field intensity is ampere per meter. So dH bar is equal to ideal bar cross AR bar by 4 pi r square. Okay. So based upon this cross product between the differential length vector and the unit vector joining the element and point of interest, based upon this cross product you can get the direction of the magnetic field. Okay, so how can I understand it? See here, how can I understand the direction of the field? I considered the current carrying conductor this way, and this is the direction of the current, and I am considering this as the differential element dl bar. So this is the direction of dl bar. And what is AR bar? If this is R bar, if I consider the point of interest here, this is R bar vector, and the unit vector along R bar is AR bar. Okay, so this is one vector, and this is another vector, DL bar, and this is AR bar. So the cross product between these two will gives you the direction of DH bar, which is the magnetic field. So when you curl your fingers from, when you start curling your fingers from DL bar towards AR bar, the thumb of your right hand gives you the direction of the magnetic field. Okay, so when you are moving the vector from when you are curling your fingers from DL bar to AR bar, so this is the point of interest. So how is the field direction now? Your thumb shows, if you curl your fingers you can understand that the thumb is towards the board or towards the paper. This is the direction of the magnetic field. This is the direction of magnetic field. For example, if your point of interest is here, now how is AR bar? How you can consider AR bar? So this is R bar. R bar must be considered always as a vector which joins the differential element and the point of interest. This is the differential element and this is the point of interest. This is the vector which joins the differential element and the point of interest. Now this is R bar, and what is the unit vector? AR bar is in this way. AR bar direction is also in this way. Now this is DL bar, This is a AR bar. Now curl your fingers. Start curling your fingers starting from DL bar towards AR bar. If you curl your right hand fingers except your thumb from DL bar to AR bar, your thumb gives you the direction of the field. Now if you observe, the field is in this direction. If you clearly observe, the field is in this direction, which is away from the board. Previously it is towards the board, now it is away from the board. So it depends upon where your point of interest is located. Based upon the point of interest, you need to draw a unit vector which joins the current element and the point of interest, right? And start curling your fingers from DL bar towards AR bar, and your thumb gives you the direction of the magnetic field. If you clearly observe from our basic physics, we can understand that according to right hand thumb rule, the magnetic field is always around the current carrying conductors. When the current is shown with means when the current direction is in the direction of thumb, your curled finger shows the magnetic field direction. If your curled finger shows current direction, the thumb gives you magnetic field direction. You can use in any way. So if you observe here also, you are getting the magnetic field in the same way. If the current is in this direction, the magnetic field is in this direction. Okay, like this. Around this current carrying conductor, this is the current carrying conductor. Around this current carrying conductor, the magnetic field direction is like this, showing a curved, showing a closed path. Now if the point of interest is here, what is the field? Field is towards the board or towards the paper. If the point of interest is here, the field is away from the paper, so that it is forming a closed path. In this way also you can find the direction of the field. Okay, so with this we can understand that how a Biot-Savart's law is helpful in order to find the magnitude as well as the direction of magnetic field due to a small current element, right? If you want to get for the entire current carrying conductor, this is for only a small element in the entire current carrying conductor. If you want for the entire current carrying conductor, you can take the integration so that this dH bar is converted into H bar, and it is line integral of, because it is dl bar, right? So the integration is line integration of I dl bar cross AR bar by 4 pi r square ampere per meter. Okay, so this is Biot-Savart's law statement theoretically with the help of these three conclusions, and this is the mathematical relation for the theoretical statement, and this is the picture of how we are considering a current carrying wire, and what is the small element we are considering, and what is the point of interest where we are finding the magnetic field, where we are finding the magnetic field. Okay, I hope it is clear for you. Is it right, ma? Please give me reply.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma. So uh, for our better understanding, I just want to compare this Biot-Savart's law with the Coulomb's law. Okay, for our better understanding, comparison between Biot-Savart's law and Coulomb's law, which which simply compares the magnetic fields with the electric fields. Biot-Savart's law and Coulomb's law. There are some similarities and there are some differences between Biot-Savart's law and Coulomb's law. If you see the first similarity, both fields, whether it may be magnetic fields or it may be electric field intensity or magnetic field intensity. H is magnetic field intensity, E is electric field intensity. So both magnetic field intensity and electric field intensities are here inversely proportional to the distances. They have inverse square relationship, inversely proportional to distances. If you clearly observe, first let us see in electrostatics, we considered first charge here Q1 and second charge here Q2. If I want to find the field at this location, let us assume it as dE2. It is given by dQ2 divided with 4 pi epsilon naught. I need the distance between these two, right? So it is R12 square. If you want to have the direction, you can consider this as AR12 bar. Okay. This is the small electric field due to charge dq2. So this is the electric field due to dq1, right? So the electric field at this location is given by the charge divided with 4 pi epsilon naught r square. R is nothing but the distance between the first charge and the second charge, or the distance between the source and the point of interest. This is related to electrostatics. So the electric field is inversely proportional to square of the distance. Is it right or not? When you see the magnetostatics, just now we have considered, if you consider the point where your differential current element exists as a point 1, and the point of interest where we want to find the magnetic field as a point 2, if we assume this distance as this distance vector as r12 bar, we got just now the magnetic field intensity dH2 bar as I1 dl1 bar, because I am considering this point where the differential element exists as the point 1. So I1 dl1 bar cross, I am considering this as AR12 bar, because here the unit vector is nothing but the unit vector which joins the differential element and the point of interest. Differential element is available at point 1, I am assuming. Point of interest is available at point 2, I am assuming. So that the unit vector joins these two is AR12 bar divided with the 4 pi R12 square. Here also, if you observe, the differential magnetic field intensity is inversely proportional to square of the distance between the current element and the point of interest. Differential electric field intensity is also inversely proportional to square of the distance from the source to the point of interest. So both have inversely proportional relation with the distances. Okay. So both are inversely proportional to the distances. This is one similarity between Biot-Savart's law and Coulomb's law. Because from where we got this expression? We got this expression for electric field from Coulomb's law, and we got this expression for magnetic field from Biot-Savart's law. And also both follows superposition principle. Why we are saying that both follows the superposition principle? Because the field is proportional to the source. Here the electric field is proportional to the source, which is the charge, and the magnetic field is proportional to IDL, okay, which is the source for magnetic field. Current is the source for magnetic field. Charge is the source for electric field, right? In both the cases, the field is proportional to the sources. As the field is proportional to the sources in both the cases, both follows the principle of superposition. So according to the principle of superposition, we have understood in our electrostatics that the net force on any charge in a system of charges is equal to sum of the forces which are evaluated due to individual charges. Okay. Similarly here also, for example, if you consider this as the point of interest P, I have one current carrying conductor here, another current carrying wire here, another current carrying wire here, like this. If I want to find the total field at point P, I can find the field due to this wire plus find the field due to this wire plus find the field due to this wire. Adding all these fields, I will get the total field at this point. This is called as a principle of superposition. So both Biot-Savart's law and Coulomb's law, according to their statements, they are inversely proportional to the distances and they both follow principle of superposition. Okay, this is the first comparison between Biot-Savart's law and Coulomb's law. Moving to the second one, or second this is about the similarities. If you see the difference, if you see the difference in electrostatics, always the force acts along the line joining the two charges. Is it right or not? If you observe, we have seen that in Coulomb's law, if this is q1 and this is q2, the force exerted by q1 on q2 is in this direction and the force exerted by q2 on q1 is in this direction. It indicates that the force acts along the line joining the two charges in case of electrostatics. The force acts along the line joining the two charges in case of electrostatics. Whereas in magnetostatics, this force is not acts along the line joining. It is always perpendicular to the line joining the source and the point of interest. Is it right or not? So ideal bar cross R bar direction is always perpendicular to the plane containing DL bar and AR bar. Okay, this is the difference between electrostatic case and magnetostatic case. Okay, so in electrostatics, the force acts along the line joining the two charges, along the line joining the source and point of interest, along the line joining source and point of interest. Whereas in magnetostatics, the force is always perpendicular to the plane containing source and point of interest. This is the difference between the electrostatics case and the magnetostatics case. Okay, this is a small comparison which gives us the similarities and the differences between Biot-Savart's law and Coulomb's law. Now, as we have different types of charge distributions in case of electrostatics. Okay, so in electrostatics we actually started with finding the field intensity due to a point charge, and then we applied this concept to continuous charge distributions. Continuous charge distributions where the charges where the charges are uniformly distributed on the volume, on the surface, on the length. Okay, so what are the various continuous charge distributions we considered in our electrostatics? Line charge is one continuous charge distribution we considered. Second one is surface charge is another charge distribution we considered. Third one is volume charge. So these are the various continuous charge distributions which we considered in our electrostatics to find the field due to these charge distributions. Whereas in magnetostatics also we have three types of current distributions. Instead of charge distributions, we have current distributions. Based on how the current is flowing on that current carrying conductor, we can consider three current distributions. One is the line current distribution. Line current distribution means if the current is flowing along a line, means as a thin current carrying wire, like our transmission line, electrical power transmission line. Okay, a thin current carrying wire can be considered as a line current distribution. Okay, so it is nothing but thin current carrying wire. A thin current carrying wire can be considered as a line current distribution. Second one is uh, surface current distribution. Surface current distribution. If the current is flowing on a sheet of object through the entire area like this, if you consider this as a sheet of conductor, and through this sheet if the current is flowing like this, we can consider this as a surface current distribution. How the current is distributed on the object, based on that we can divide the current distributions into three types. One is the line current distribution, second one is the surface current distribution, and the third one is volume current distribution. Volume means if the current is flowing through the entire volume, we can consider this as volume current distribution. Okay, so a thin current carrying wire, how does it looks like? It looks like this, carrying a current of I. This is an example for line current distribution, and this is the example for surface current distribution. And volume current distribution, if you consider a big sized current carrying wire or current carrying cable, and if the current is flowing through the entire volume, then we can consider this as a volume current distribution. So as we have three current distributions, we have three current densities. Here if you observe in your electrostatics, we considered for a line charge the charge density as lambda, which is called as line charge density, and we considered for surface charge a surface charge density sigma, and for volume charge we considered volume charge density rho. Like that, for every current distribution we have current density. Okay, for line current distribution we can represent the current element with IDL. Okay, whereas for surface current distribution we can represent this with KDS. KDS. Okay, so K is nothing but the surface current density, whose units are ampere per meter. Okay, and ds is the surface area of this small sheet. If I consider this as a small length through which the current is flowing perpendicularly as b, in I can consider the relation between current and the surface current density as k into b is equal to I. This is the relation between current and the surface current density k. B is nothing but the perpendicular length which is considered perpendicular to the direction of current. Okay, based upon the direction of current, you need to consider a small length which is perpendicular to it. By multiplying these two, you will get the current. So the unit for the surface current density K is ampere per meter. So for surface current distribution, the current element can be represented with the KDS. So ideal is same as KDS, whereas for volume current density or volume current distribution, we can consider the current density with J, whose units are ampere per meter square. J dV is the current element related to volume current distribution. So why we are considering these current elements? These current elements are useful while finding the magnetic field intensity due to entire current carrying conductor. Okay, so in place of ideal I can replace with in place of ideal I can get KDS if the current distribution is a surface current distribution. In place of KDS I can get JdV if the current distribution is a volume current distribution. If it looks somewhat difficult to understand for you, you can compare this with electrostatics case. In electrostatics case, we replaced the small amount of charge, which is the differential charge, with lambda dl. Is it right or not? What is lambda actually? It is a line charge density, which is the charge per length. So lambda is equal to dq by dl, right? So in place of dq, I can get lambda dl, and it is equal to surface charge. Surface charge is given by sigma into ds, and related to volume charge we can write it as rho dv. Okay, so in place of single dq, which is the differential charge, I can get lambda dl or sigma ds or rho dv. Is it right or not? If you compare this case study, this scenario with the magnetostatics case, you can easily understand now, where lambda is line charge density, sigma is surface charge density, rho is volume charge density. Similarly here also, ideal is the current element in case of line current distribution. KDS is the current element in case of surface current distribution. JdV is the current element in case of volume current distribution. In place of ideal, I can get KDS. In place of KDS, I can get JdV. Based upon the current distribution, we need to use either ideal or KDS or JdV, whatever it may be. Now, as we got the field intensity due to various charge distributions in case of electrostatics, in case of magnetostatics also, we can get the magnetic field due to various current distributions. What are the various current distributions? Line current distribution, surface current distribution, and volume current distribution. For line current distribution, already we have written the expression for magnetic field intensity, which is given by H is equal to line integral of I dl bar cross AR bar by 4 pi r square ampere per meter. This is for line current distribution. If you have a thin current carrying wire with you, we can consider it as a line current distribution. We can consider it as a line current distribution. Whereas if the current distribution is a surface current distribution, we can consider this as H bar is equal to surface integral of ideal bar. In place of ideal bar, what I can consider now? If it is a surface current distribution, in place of ideal bar, we can consider K ds bar. Ds bar, dl both are vectors, where dv is a scalar, hence it is a j bar dv, k ds bar, ideal bar. Now, in place of ideal bar, what I can get? K ds bar cross ar bar by 4 pi r square ampere per meter. If it is a surface current distribution, if the current is distributed along the entire surface of a current carrying conductor, then we can treat it as a surface current distribution. Similarly, for volume current distribution, H bar is given by volume integral of J bar dV cross AR bar by 4 pi r square. Always R indicates the line joining the current element and the point of interest. This is for volume current distribution. Okay, so this is about the Biot-Savart's law, mathematical statement as well as the theoretical statement, as well as Biot-Savart's law for various types of continuous current distributions. As we have got electric field intensity due to various charge distributions. What are the electric field intensities we got? See, just I am comparing the magnetostatics with electrostatics case for your better understanding, right? So, how we got for electrostatics case? E bar is equal to line integral of, in place of dq, we got rho l dl or lambda dl by 4 pi r square. Whereas for surface charge density, E bar is equal to surface integral of sigma ds by 4 pi r square. Whereas for volume charge distribution, it is volume integral of rho dv by 4 pi r square. Okay, this is in case of electrostatics for various charge distributions. This is in case of magnetostatics for various current distributions. Okay, so this is about the Biot-Savart's law explanation, the statement of Biot-Savart's law explanation, and the comparison of Biot-Savart's law with Coulomb's law, as well as Biot-Savart's law applied for various current distributions. So these integrations or these expressions are helpful in order to find the field due to various types of current distributions. If the current carrying conductor is a thin wire, we can go for using this expression. If the current carrying object is like a surface object, then we can go for using this expression. If the current carrying wire is a solid, a large cross sectional, large volume object, then we can use this expression. Okay,